I have desired, and I have desired that one day the young African generation would become its own business owners, would become its own capitalist, would become its own billionaires and trillionaires. And I've discovered that this change doesn't begin with anyone else. This change begins with us, and that this change begins with me. This is Young Entrepreneur Africa. I've brought to you the Think Podcast solo series. And I'm inviting you all to come and engage. Let's collaborate in building business in Africa. Let's collaborate in building our own business in Zimbabwe.
Good day to you all, family. This is Young Entrepreneur Africa. So we had a very wonderful new year this year, and all the promises that we've said that we are going to bring out to you. And one of the major promises was that on the 15th of January 2025, we are going to be launching the Think Podcast. Nevertheless, we managed to launch the company, Luco Investments Private Limited, and we also managed to launch the YEA project, the YEA trademark project. So today we have come to announce to you that we are going to be sharing the first podcast. Tune in every Thursday on all our social media platforms. It's going to be posted, the Think Podcast solo. So welcome to the solo series of the Think Podcast. Today, this is Young Entrepreneur Africa, and I would like to share with you. So I had quite a discussion with my executive team, and we were speaking about what is the title of the first podcast that we are going to give to our audience. And nevertheless, we came up with a very beautiful title after a heated argument, and that title was My Life Story as Young Entrepreneur Africa. So I've come with my life story today. So I think when I was in Zambia, I had to give some of you the information of the masterclass that we're going to be doing in Zambia and the masterclasses that we're going to be doing here in Zimbabwe, and all of them are about to start. So may you sharpen your ears as I'm about to share with you a wonderful journey that we are launching at the Young Entrepreneur Africa initiative, the trademark, as well as Luco Investments Private Limited. So today I want to share with you my life story, and I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for giving me this wonderful opportunity, and also my mentor for Sit and Acquire to be tuning in for this journey that we have started as the Young Entrepreneur Africa, following after his footsteps. And we hope to go a long and a far away journey. So, my life story. Have you ever wondered what is it like as a young entrepreneur in Zimbabwe, or as a young teen in Zimbabwe, or as a young boy that has grown up in the high-density suburbs of Chitungwiza and coming from Makoni Riverside and growing up in a police camp? And I remember in our household, we used to be, I think around, could have been around 17 years in one household, 17 to 18 years in one room, a one-room household. And it was quite a difficult time for my life, because a lot of young people are beginning to ask me, what has inspired you as a young Zimbabwean to venture into entrepreneurship, to venture into business, and what has driven your passion? So first and foremost is, as a young person, we ought to constantly check our background. So my background is the sole proprietor, or it's the effector of what I started doing in this journey of entrepreneurship. So I remember we'll be around 17 to 18, and I can still remember vividly that my grandmothers used to be home all the time, and we're living in one room. That at one point our neighbor, she had to file, because she was a lady, she had to file a complaint to the nearest police station for my mother, because since she was a policewoman, she had to file a complaint that I cannot pass during the night because the children are sleeping and are scattered all over the passage. So it was quite a difficult thing. So I didn't have the benefits to enjoy as all many young people have enjoyed. And I would like to highlight the issues that have to do with, I think you remember when you had your first bike. By bike I mean bicycle, that you would be literally treated like a god. paikumbirwa mabhaiki, vamwe vachinonokumbira bhaiki ndipo bhaiki kana munhu achinge atengerwa bhaiki, that kind of thing. But for me it was quite unfortunate. I have never had a bike in my life. So I realized that as I went on in the journey of life, that I lost so much in life that I had to work hard and remake it for the past 10 times better than I was. So this is one of the biggest pushes that led me into doing entrepreneurship, and it has been quite a wonderful journey. So my life story, I remember the first time that I told my mother that I no longer want to first start by going to university. It was one of the most hardest things that she could ever hear, but not in the context that I'm not going to university. Right now I have some courses that I'm undertaking, but the fact that I don't want to start, because the narrative in the African soil has always been that a child goes to school, goes to university, graduate, and then you find a job. But the question came to me like an unction. I asked myself that, but who has that job? Who is owning that job? Who is owning that company? That's what driven me, the motive to research. Then I discovered that 75% of all the billionaires that we have in the world, they dropped out of university. So that was now a mystery. It's a mystery to me, it's a mystery to you. But I decoded the mystery. Then I asked myself that, what is it that made them drop out of high school? What is it that made them drop out of university? That is the reason why I have come today to tell you about this wonderful, wonderful journey. So the YEA podcast, tuning in on every Thursday, we shall be talking about all these topics. And I really feel like there is an insight that has been hidden for generations and generations to the African soil that it began to uncover. I remember one podcast when Vusi was reminded by one fellow South African that, if you realized how we have managed to break the sound barrier in business in Africa, one of the best sound barrier breakers, like when he speaks business, when he talks and when he engages in business, it's a different move and it's a different motion from what we've been seeing for quite sometimes that have passed. So coming from that perspective and that angle, that is one of the key things that has pushed me, that I want to be my own CEO. I want to be my own founder, not of just one company, but of many diverse companies. So my life story has been likely been driven by my background. Trust me, you ought always to check your background. Coming from the high density suburbs, from Cheetown, you understand what I'm saying. When you come from a very hard background where you missed out on a lot of opportunities that a lot of young people of my age were benefiting from, missing out from a lot of essentials. I remember the school that I went to, high school, it was something else. When you sit down and realize that your life was a mess and you need to make up for it, it is the type and the quality of life that I've lived as an individual. So I have a motivation and I have a responsibility to the young people. And we have launched our company, our subsidiary. We want to turn it into a subsidiary. So far, it's more of like a department, YEA Capital. We are into venture capitalism. To every young person out there in Zimbabwe that is ready to learn business, that is ready to start a business, and you don't have capital, come and conduct Young Entrepreneur Africa. We have the solution for you. We have the money for you to inject, and we have the ideology. Let's collaborate and help each other build business, because it has been one of the most fundamental, important elements of why Africa needs to revolutionize in the mindset. We now need our own business owners. We need our own Apple. We need our own Amazon. We need our own ChatGPT. We need our own Siri. We need our own cars. So this is the motive that pushed me to why I am here today and why I'm sharing you this story. I have been motivated by my background, my life story. So for the business masterclasses, we are going to be going into institutions, many institutions, inspiring young people, waking up. Remember, the theme for this year is how to bypass the system. And by how to bypass the system, what we mean is that there is the only distance between you and owning your company, you and running your firm. There are a set of papers, and those papers are what we call the system. So there is a system that has been pragmatically stated or designed over revolutions and times that represent the steps that you need to take before you can attain something. And that is the system. Remember that it is only the absence of papers that can limit you to have your code represented in court. You need your case to be represented in court if the papers are not found. So the distance between us and our progress are just the papers in the modern day world. It was not so back in the day, but in the modern day world, it is just the distance between you and your success are papers. So that is what we call the system. Imagine you want to work with a bank. I remember we approached FBC Bank. We are asking for a partnership. We are still in the talks right now. We approached Cresta Jameson Hotel so that we can ask for a spot for the podcast. And we are still pushing heights and very, very much pushing. So these are some of the things we are going to be taking you into through the journey that we've just announced, so that you may have the experience to see that if you are to launch your own company and start, let's collaborate and let's do it together. And how can we bypass the system? We bypass the system by first observing how the system operates. Remember that the only distance between you and knowing your business is only the system. Why? Because in the United States there is a bank, and Elon Musk got wealthy because he knew how to deal with banks. And in Zimbabwe the same applies. We also have banks here, which means that if banks are everywhere and people are everywhere, billionaires can be everywhere. So what is the difference? The difference in America and Zimbabwe is that in America they understand the system, how to deal with banks, and in Zimbabwe we don't. So we are finding that we are in a phase of failing to scale our businesses, failing to flourish, failing to prosper. But the Young Entrepreneur Africa has come today, and this is our first podcast. We wanted to make it short and precise. This is just an introductory, and I think all of you are going to enjoy our series. This is the solo version, the solo series, Think Podcast solo series. We are going to also introduce the Think Podcast community engagement series, where we are going to bring out some business people, some billionaires, some millionaires, people who are fruitioning in Africa, in Zimbabwe, all over the world. This is Young Entrepreneur Africa. Thank you.